if I like people, and I like to mess with people. Sometimes people think I'm a little grouchy, gruff old man type of, but I like to joke and mess around with people, but I don't mean it with like a mean intent type thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know how I am. I'm always kidding you about something. In 20 minutes, they can take an office and make it go from 1961 to 1968 and change the color, the walls, the pictures, and make it look like it's 10 years. I mean, and they can do it in 15 or 20 minutes. It's unbelievable how fast they can work.
Yeah.
And then there's this.
And then there's this.
I didn't get in it for the money because I never thought we would be able to make a living out of it. And, you know, most people out here race, they have jobs, and they race on the weekends, and it's kind of like a family sport, or a bunch of guys get together and build a car. But for me, I like the competition of driving against guys, and I love going in races that somebody thought there was somebody, that the big boys were there, they're going to beat up on us. Day in and day out, I liked doing it, but I wasn't fanatically about it, like, say, Prudhomme or Garlitz is. You know, like when those guys race somebody, or Shirley, they'd want to tear your heart out and beat you to a pulp, and if they couldn't win, they didn't want anybody to win. Well, I used to enjoy it, and if I raced somebody that was a so-called, like myself, no big name, sometimes they'd beat me because I wasn't on my game. But if I had to race Garlitz or Prudhomme or Shirley, I'd kick their ass because I was on the top of the game. I wouldn't. In my career, I don't care how much money I had. If I was going to go to a race and I could have anybody drive my car, I would drive my car. You know, I grew up. My brother and I grew up with a mother. My father was a Navy test pilot. Went to Pensacola flight school as a Navy pilot, and I was born in Pensacola, Florida, while he was there, and then he was shipped to Panama, and so we went to Panama. That's where my father was killed in the test plane there, where my brother was born. My mother brought my brother and I back to Long Beach, California in like 39 or 40. I was raised in Long Beach, California, and my mom worked, and her mother came from Missouri and lived with us and helped raise us. And I never knew my father because I was only 2 years old when he got killed. He was a test pilot, and he flew PBYs, and then he was flying this this twin wing plane out of Panama. And my mother told me that my father was kind of a hotshot daredevil guy. He kind of thought he could get anything happen, he could find his way out of the way. And I guess he was landing on the runway, according to what she told me, and a pilot had got on the wrong runway to take off in front of my dad, and my dad tried to, instead of getting this kid in trouble, he tried to veer off real sharp to the right, and he clipped a palm tree with the wing of the plane, and I guess it flipped and broke his neck or something, killed him. But I never knew my dad. I have pictures of him and all that kind of stuff, and the relatives, but I never really had a father that I knew. My mother's pretty much raised my brother and I. So I'd probably go back to the 60s and 70s when it was fun racing.
and everybody liked one another, except they didn't like Prudhomme, and he didn't like anybody, but everybody else liked everybody. And you would race, and you'd loan each other parts and motors, and you had fun, and you raced hard, but there was no money there. See, money's what messed everything up. It was good for the guys that made it, but for just fun racing and guys' togetherness, it's changed. It's like the music. I like the music from the 60s and the 70s better than today's music, but I like that era of when we were match racing at Lions drag strip.
Sunday sees Bob Mcewen take on Don Prudhomme in a all-out match race.
Ready to lose, Donnie?
Losing's your specialty.
You gotta think big to make it big.
I win every damn race I line up for.
You got a gift, but it's not enough. You need business sense.
How are we gonna make some serious money at this?
You gotta work together with me on that, Don.
What, you and me like a team?
You versus me, like always, except this time we take it on tour. The Mongoose and the Snake.
But a snake and mongoose, not the other way around.
Whew. Keep dreaming, brother.
Mongoose and snake.
Don, it's pretty catchy. Tom is always coming up with a way to make some money.
What you got there, Joey? Hot cars?
Hot Wheels, Dad. Pretty cool, huh?
Mattel makes a lot of money selling these toy cars.
How can we all work together?
You put these cartoon characters on the cars, and you watch the kids go nuts. Brother, we're about to become a team. The team.
We'll put this sport right on the map.
I got 3 kids in the house. What I don't have is a husband. You watch your man, Lynn. Keep him out of trouble.
You don't think all this fooling around interferes with the way you race? You're a loser. Races, your wife, kid.
You afraid to give Lynn that baby she's always wanted?
So I don't want to have kids and leave me without a father. So what?
We are getting everything we always wanted.
This is your dream, not mine.
Now, you're more important to me than anything in the whole world.
In the far lane, Jim Nickel. In the near lane, Don Prudhomme.
Nickel, car burst into flame.
I'm done racing.
Snake Prudhomme says he is done drag racing.
You and me, we are drag racers, man. Time to get back behind the wheel, brother.
100,000 people are ready for the finals of the granddaddy of all drag races, the U.S. Nationals.
I'm gonna whip your ass today.
Hey, Tommy.
Tom the Mongoose Mcewen against his longtime friend and nemesis, Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Who's faster, snake or mongoose?
Snake.
You paid those kids to say that.
When they came to me, when Rob and Brody came to Don and I with the idea of Alan Paradise's script, and Alan had already done the book. Mattel had done this hardcover book that's never been out yet. It's ready to go, be printed and released. And it never got put out. And he took that script and made it into a movie script. And then went to Hollywood, and somebody in Hollywood liked the idea, and as Hollywood got involved, and they wanted to change it. Like it was a pretty pure drag racing actual story from the beginning. Hollywood wanted to change it and make it and Snake wanted to do it too, I think, listening to him. He wanted to make it an X-rated, naked women on the road, wanted me to be the dope smoking, beer drinking, pool shooting, bad father, ladies man, and he was going to be the preacher with the daughter that was really good and raced on the weekend. That's kind of how they wanted to make the movie, and we had to make a lot of changes because I says, if you do an X-rated or R-rated movie, the kids won't come. You won't have very many people come see it. It needs to have more of the Hot Wheel kid stuff in it, so that the children, over the millions of Hot Wheels that we've sold since 1970, all worldwide, and then the Mongoose bikes and all the stuff that's happened with me. You want the kids to come and see the movie so they can enjoy drag racing and the smoke and fire, and throw a story in there that's fun and clean. And I think the movie probably 85% pure. I think came out pretty nice. Everybody seems to like it. It's got a lot of footage and excitement and cars and stuff. And then, of course, the scene I didn't want to do was the one where he and I are in the golf cart directing the Hot Wheel trucks coming into the racetrack. And everybody thinks that's funny. And I didn't even want to do that. So I think overall it was good.
Don Prudhomme's Snake, Tom McEwen's Mongoose. Dragdom's fastest duo goes from the drag strip to your home. It's Mattel's Mongoose Snake drag set, just like the big ones. Funny cars, screaming speed. Get Hot Wheels Mongoose Snake drag set. Only from Mattel. And go with a winner.
I mean, we've had hellacious battles, often on the track. We don't always believe in the same thing or agree on things. But when it comes down to friendship and for one another and everything, it wasn't just in the movie. We're, you know, like if he was sick or I was sick, we'd be there for each other, and we'd always be there for each other. We were friends long before the Mongoose and Snake ever came along. You know, I met him at Lions drag strip way back when he was helping Ivo. And I remember the day that I met him, we were at Lions, and Ivo was racing. Don was driving Ivo's little T-bucket push car. And I walked up to him, and it was a two-seater. And I walked up to him and said, "Can I ride down the track with you while you're pushing Ivo?" And he told me no. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, you know, getaway kid or something. That's when I first met him. And then we started racing each other in the early days with the dragsters. Him driving for other people, and then him finally having his own car, like myself, driving for other people. And we raced a lot, and he lived out in the valley. I almost had a room in his house out there. I used to go out there all the time and hang out with him and Lynn, and we had motorcycles. We used to go riding up in the Thursday nights. Everybody went up in the Hollywood riding, and no, we spent a lot of time together. And then when the Mongoose Snake thing came along, we got into business and we're partnership and everything. And so, I mean, we've been, one way or another, we've been around each other for a long time. Just reliving the past of what we did and watching the cars at the different tracks and where we traveled on the road and all the stuff that we did and all that. It brings back, you know, some of the memories. Like I tell people, you know, when we used to be on the road and we used to race 3 or 4 times in 7 days, and everything was a long distance, and the booking guys would call us up, and we'd be at Capitol Raceway on a Saturday night, and you'd get a phone call from Ira Litchie, who booked us, and he'd say, "Hey, I need you to be Rockford, Illinois tomorrow." And I'd say, "That's 18 hours. He says, "It's only an inch on the map." And I'd laugh and I'd say, "Yeah, as far as you're concerned." But you'd be driving over those country roads at 3 o'clock in the morning, tired, heading for your next racetrack, and there'd be a big glow coming up over the hill, and you were praying it was a Waffle House. See, I tell people stories like that, and they hate the Waffle House. I love the Waffle House, because in the middle of the night when you're tired and hungry, it was like heaven to us.
Car eliminator, final race. Tom the Mongoose McEwen against his longtime friend and nemesis, Don the Snake Prudhomme. Prudhomme wrapping up another world championship title. That makes it 4 in a row. But the race is on the line for the national championship in funny car. Prudhomme in the far lane. That has been the better lane in racing thus far. Later this afternoon, in the near lane, Tom McEwen. And they're off the line, and Prudhomme smokes the tires. McEwen pulling ahead, and it is Tom McEwen with the upset of the race. The crew just going berserk. Tom McEwen's crew members very, very happy, as Tom himself winning it for the first time. These two cars have met 4 times before in the final rounds, and this is the first time that McEwen has won it, and an all-important race for him. For just 1 week ago, Tom's 14-year-old son passed away from leukemia. A great drag racing fan, and he liked nothing better than to see his dad, Tom McEwen, run against Don the Snake Prudhomme. And this time, it was McEwen prevailing.
we had thought that if we were lucky enough to come up against him in the race, whatever it was, we would try this gear ratio just to see, because he ran better than we did and ran better than most guys. And I thought it's hard on the motor, but I thought it might make it, if it would hold it, if the track would hold it, might help me. And so in the semifinals, I had a single, so we put the gear in it, and I knew he was going to put us in the left lane again, and he was in the right lane. And we went up and we did a little squirt, and it held and hauled ass, half track shut off, and I said, okay, now let's see what happens in the final. And I left good, and he hazed the tires, which he hadn't done all weekend, just a little bit, and it was just enough to make the difference in the race. And it was like, my son had just died, like Jamie, like 10 days or 2 weeks prior to that of leukemia, and I wasn't, crushed me, and I wasn't even going to race anymore. And he came, and we had this thing about, you need to be there, whatever, just like kind of in the movie a little bit, and it was pretty good. So we went, and it turned out to be the way it turned out, and it was like, quite a ending to a deal, and turned out to be a big thing, and something I'll never forget because of the winning and because of Jamie and because of all the stuff that went into it. Very meaningful. So that's something I'll never forget.
And this time, it was Mcewen prevailing. Here is Don Prudhomme going over to congratulate his longtime friend, Tom Mcewen. Let's go down to the area and join Steve Evans.
A very emotional moment down here. I've seen Don Prudhomme lose before, and it's usually a recluse. He gets in his truck, he leaves the racetrack immediately, talks to nobody. This is just a little bit different. As many times as I've been here, I have seen few moments packed with as much emotion as this one.
Tom Mcewen, the winner of Funny Car, getting out of his Corvette.
Do you remember what he said when he stuck his head inside?
Let me tell you something. I was sitting in the car. I pulled off before the finish line onto the grass. And then he came down and got by me, and he was the first one to me. And he came inside, and I think we were both crying. And I think that was the one time in his life that he wasn't really pissed off that he got beat. Because he's really, really the other way about. He doesn't want anybody to win if he can't win. But I think the situation being the way it was with Jamie and the way that everything went down and all the bullshit, I think he was very sincere about. He didn't want me to win. I mean, let's face it, he wanted to win the race, but he didn't. He smoked the tires. He hazed the tires. And he got beat. And I don't know. Just like he says, he doesn't know if he could have beat me anyway, because I run an old something. I run the best run that I had ever run at Indy. Now, he'd run a little bit quicker there that day, but, in the afternoon, he put me in the back. We had all that figured out with lanes and everything, but I think he was sincere about, after he got beat, we got down at the end, and he knew what that meant to me with the Jamie thing and all that. Not so much showing he had a picture of him, that we did. I don't remember all that so much, but I do know that he was, it was a sad thing for both guys.
Every time I see it, it's sad. I get teared up. It brings back memories, sad memories to me, because you never forget your children. I had 3 boys. I've lost 2 of them. I still have one alive, Tommy, and he's 53. And it brings back memories of what I went through with Jamie, good and bad. You don't want to forget them, and the good times are good. But boy, the bad times is something that you. It really when you lose somebody, time's the only thing that helps you get over it. Years later, you don't see them every day, you don't talk to them every day. You have pictures and stuff, but it makes it a little easier. Though every time I see that movie, it's pretty tough.
The heart. If you're a parent and you have a child, and that child is dying, and that child thinks that you're his savior, and that child comes to you and says, "You're not going to let me die, are you, Dad?" When that happens, I don't think that anything else comes anywhere near. You can lose your brother, You can lose your mother and father, your grandmother, your grandfather, and it's sad and it's bad. But when you lose one of your kids, and especially a young one that you're pretty tight with, if I had to do it over again and I was going to lose a child, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody, I'd want it to be like when my son Joe died and you get a phone call that you lost, there'd been a car wreck and he's bad and don't know if he's going to live, and then they pass away. But when someone has a disease like leukemia that they don't know much about, and they tell you the very first time you take him to the hospital, and they can just look at him and they can tell you what. We didn't know what was wrong with him. We thought he had the flu. He came home from school, didn't feel good. Hey, go to bed, you'll be fine tomorrow. Well, the next day he wasn't better, and the next day he wasn't better. Take him to the hospital. We took him in the hospital. They looked at him, and he's got leukemia. They can tell by looking at him because they're used to that, their color and everything, right? And it was a bad. There's all kinds of leukemia, and his was a bad one. And they told me, they said, odds are he's not going to last very long. That's what modern day medicine. So we thought, well, every day they're coming out with new medicine, and so I had to go, 2 years with the kid dying, taking him to the hospital. I don't know if you know what a bone marrow thing is. That they say that's the most painful thing that you can have. They put a great big needle down against your hip and then run a drill down through that and go through your hip into your bone marrow. And he used to have to do that every 2 months, and he did not want to go to the hospital and cry. You have to take him, right? I mean, that was part of it. And then you have to be the good guy, bad guy through all that. Well, when he's dying, and you're trying to make him think every day something will happen, you'll be all right. So that would be the hardest, lowest point of my whole life, was that one problem with him. Well, I didn't really like it. I think it got to the point where, and all these guys are finding it out, when you get to be a certain age. I think I was like 55 or 56 years old, and I was thinking I could get me another major sponsor after the Coors thing, when I ran the 57. And I didn't really think it at the time. I didn't really worry about it because I thought, oh, hell, I'll get somebody, because I've always been good at marketing. And I ran the 57 for 2 years. Meanwhile, we're looking for a major sponsor to have another team, and it didn't happen. And I just thought, well, that's just how it's going to be. I didn't like it because I always liked driving. But then I started thinking, I got a little tired of the travel. 45 years of flying every weekend, living in hotels and eating at restaurants and stuff. I kind of got tired of that. I still don't like traveling now. And then but it wasn't like a suicidal or anything. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was okay, because I had other things going on that I wasn't able to do when I was racing, because I was gone all the time. But overall, I can't complain. I've had a good life. I've had some ups and downs. I know the agony of defeat. I know the good times, the bad times I've gone through. Jamie's thing with it, that was probably one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. If you're a friend of mine, friendship and loyalty mean a lot to me. Loyalty big time. And there's a lot of friends, and then there's a lot of fair weather friends in this business. And I've got a handful of good ones, and I think that if you've got 2 or 3 good ones, I always tell people, and everybody thinks they have good friends, I say, get your friends together, say you got 30 of them that you think are pretty tight with you, right? And some night at midnight, call them all on the phone and say, I'm in jail for child molesting, and I didn't do it. Could you come down and bail me out for $1,000 and see how many of them show up? I've said that for many, many years. Well, I have 2 or 3 guys that would come get me, of all my people that I know. So, I think. I mean, I haven't done it, but I think they will.